Welcome. Welcome to this week's BTO talk on AI, generative AI, digital transformation, and so much more. My name is Michael Alf, calling from Lisbon, one of the 3 co-founding partners of Beyond the Obvious, and we work with organizations on those topics around the world, from Australia to Europe. And I'm here with one of the co-founders. Rob, over to you.
Yeah, good to see you again, Michael. Rob Thurner here in London, working on government and financial services projects this week. And we're very keen to share our updates. A couple of topics for you. This one will be pretty short, 10 minutes. And we're going to kick off first up with our tech news and then look at financial services and some work I've been doing there. So Michael, take it away. What's in your tech box that you can share with us?
Yeah, thank you. It was actually really challenging this week. There's so much happening. I was actually attending the Abundance 360 Summit virtually, which was mind-blowing, literally. So we're going to share more of that maybe in the next session when we have a little bit more time. And something happened. One of the major consulting companies, McKinsey, got hacked. And this is kind of interesting. They are one of the heaviest users. They got a certificate or something like that from OpenAI as one of the users with the most tokens, one of the big users of OpenAI, and they got hacked. And there is this site, how we hacked McKinsey's AI platform. So it's a company called CodeWall, as you can see here. Here's kind of what happened. 46 million chat messages, files, 700,000 files, 50,000 user accounts, system prompts, everything you need. And it goes on how it happened, what inside, beyond the database, and so on and so on, disclosure timeline. The good news is they are basically a company who is doing these things in terms of called white knight. So they're actually identifying weak spots, and then they actively communicate with the company, so they're not taking anything away. So that's the good news. But it's really a warning signal about the risks out there. Does that mean you should not go this pathway? No, definitely not. But you need to be very switched on. You need to have the right architects. You need to have the right kind of security profiles and work around the security. That's super, super important. We can talk about that in the future a little bit more. But this is a really exclamation mark of what is happening right now. So that's kind of enough from the tech news. We could share a lot more because it's kind of so dynamic. But that's the one I wanted to share as an exclamation mark.
And so, just out of interest, so this is a how-to guide that these guys have published. I'm working in cybersecurity in a consulting firm or any organization. What's the takeout for me as a cyber guy? I mean, I'm thinking job lost here. Maybe I need to find a whole new way of protecting. This is frontier stuff. What would you be saying if you were talking to your cybersecurity people here?
Look, I think it's described how they did it. It's not a how-to guide. I mean, it's in principle showing the weaknesses, and I think it's worth actually reading through that. And so kind of here, for example, step 1, public API documentation. So APIs are the integration points. This is a big one. So if they're public, they're public. So that becomes a problem. You have then here, and again, it gets technical, SQL, so the database injections, JSON, which is one of the most important formats to exchange structured information, all of that. And they step by step did that. And so I think to your question, it's a kind of really study that, read that, make sure kind of those things are covered. And then also, and that's kind of what is coming up. Think about how to actually protect yourself going forward, because these things can happen clearly. But in this case, the impact would have been incredible. I mean, this is threatening an organization. If this information comes out, because of course in these emails and in these documents and chats and so on, there's so much confidential information, because the consultants assume the internal platform is safe. So they share everything in this platform. So all the information. So that's the critical thing. So for anyone study that, read that, and see kind of what it does for you and what you need to learn out of it.
Yeah, interesting. Well, thanks for sharing that. So the other piece we want to talk about, I've been doing some work with one of our financial services organizations here in the UK, and the project I'm working on is with their relationship managers who can show a huge improvement in productivity, in performance by using GenAI tools to capture and then provide much more informed advice to their high net worth and institutional clients. What I found doing my research was that there's clear evidence that performance uplifts. Those using the right tools are providing much better levels of service, and yet it's not mandatory. So they're seeing that even with access to these tools, relationship managers, some are deciding just to go alone and stick with their old way of developing their relationships with their clients, providing their own support, and not sharing that information back with the organization, which raises an interesting question. Why is it that as leaders in this bank, they're not mandating using AI tools to share what's clearly proven to be better levels of service with their customers? Is there a question about relationships and sticking with existing relationships without wanting to unsettle their highest performers? Or is there another way that their top performers can be encouraged and maybe even mandated to use AI to provide better services? And it just got me thinking that as we're looking to upskill and help organizations develop better usage of AI solutions, there's a conundrum here. And I'm just interested to know, Michael, if you were working with a team of high performance relationship managers, I know you do a lot of key account management work with other clients, how would you be advising the leadership team to take full advantage here?
I think you are making a wonderful example, what you're talking about. This spans across pretty much most of the organizations. So every leader, every organization is asking these questions, and it's interesting that you bring that on top of that, and we can discuss that. So I mean, it is change management. So it's kind of, you want a different behavior by your people. And there are different ways to get there. And let's say one is the mandatory way. So you say, well, you have to use these tools. But there's another much nicer, more subtle way. It's like kind of the competition wins, which means when you think about that, what is possible? I mean, you do a quantum leap in terms of productivity and also quality of the outcome if you do it right. So therefore, at the next performance review, and you look at your team, you can clearly see who is using it and who is not using it. So it becomes so clear, which then the competition clearly tells you, okay, well, out of, let's say, 50 advisors, you have a third is using it very well, a third is using it a little bit, and a third is not using it. And those 17 are so much better in their results. And so therefore, if you have, let's say, kind of a higher fire policy in terms of cutting off 10%, then clearly, the low 5 to 10 are basically out, and you replace them with someone else. And then, of course, you make sure. So I think kind of there's a natural evolution, because kind of those who are using things will be better. That is the same with, if you go to sports, and I think we used the analogy last time. If you have something kind of a valid, an allowed, let's say, enhancer, then of course, I mean, everyone who uses it kind of is better. So I think that's kind of the question you need to answer. So I think kind of the evolutionary path is probably the better path. I think if you mandate that, it feels like a top-down forcing, and usually that doesn't really work.
Yeah, interesting. So our topic of leadership is on our minds as we're now getting some good progress on the best practice guide we're putting together on hybrid leadership. That will be launched shortly. We've got the first draft now complete. And this is very much a subject that we'll be delving into in the organization part, the we part of that guide. So we'll look forward to sharing that with you and unveiling more elements over the coming weeks. It's been great to spend this short time with you today. Michael, thanks as ever for your input. Please feel free to get in contact. Use the QR code there if you've got any comments you'd like to share with us or to get involved in our community. Marcus will be back with us next week. And from London, from Lisbon, let's bid you farewell. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Rob. See you.